Careful. Hi, you are watching Holistic Pet Care with Dr. O, and today we are talking about crock-pot cooking for your pets. Now, our guests today are going to be Maggie, I called you Maga, Maggie and Tara. They are experienced professionals with this, and unfortunately, due to probably attrition, and doctors saying that's probably the right thing to do, so they're going to tell the story how they went from kibble feeders to owning, it looks like one, two crock pots and a couple of big pots in the background there. So, thank you guys for being here very, very much. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the world?
I'm Tara Schmitz.
And I'm Maggie Norton. And we're here to discuss crockpot cooking.
You guys are going to have your own show here soon, I'm sure of it, and then
Absolutely.
we can, we can educate everybody. I love this. We just finished recording a show for those of you watching just for crockpotting about Maggie's doggy, Mickey, who had a cancer, and through the course of their loving, caring for Mickey, they all learned about nutrition and how we can best suit the needs of our friends by staying away from certain things and preparing certain things in a minimalist fashion. So one of the easiest ways we can do that is by making friends with your crock pot. So I'm going to turn it over to these guys to tell you, why the heck are you crock potting for your dogs?
Well, when we were looking for different, alternative and holistic ways to approach Mickey when he was going through his cancer, just to kind of improve the quality of his life. So we discovered, nutrition. And unbeknownst to us, the kibble that we were giving him is kibble. It was great. It was organic. It was no grain. But on the course of understanding what's in kibble, it made us go, oh, I wouldn't eat that. Why should my dog eat that? And so we decided to start cooking for the puppies, and we chose specific things that would be good for Mickey because of what he was fighting, the cancer he was fighting. So we chose certain foods that would help him. We chose red meat for his system. It was better for his blood condition and for a lot of things. And it seems that it's good for another one of our puppies, and the other one just loves it. So, so we chose red meat over chicken. And then the other thing that we're doing besides the meat is vegetables. And so we have an array of every color of vegetables because we learned that every different color has different nutritional value. So we have really kind of a fun thing. Let me scoop some of this out.
Good for you. Yay, good for you. I love it.
Traditionally in crockpot cooking, you don't open it up while it's cooking. You just turn on a very low heat. You let it go, and it actually seals in. All the nutritional value is going to be inside of there.
Right.
But it's okay if I open it up. It just takes a little longer to cook. Sit.
Another thing we're staying away from is anything sweet for the dogs.
Right. Now,
especially since the cancer.
Okay, tell me why. Tell me why you don't want sugar going into these guys, and then we want carbohydrates break down into sugars. So why do we stay away from sugary stuff in our dogs?
Well, especially our dogs are boxers, or at least part boxers, and they are very susceptible to cancers, and cancer is fed by sugars.
Good for you. Good for you. I love it. So boxers aren't susceptible to it. They have genetic predisposition to it. They're genetic coded. So susceptibility means that I might catch the cold. I might catch, the flu. These guys, as a breed, unfortunately, they are more prone to show certain kinds of cancers or certain kinds of badness in them because of genetics. And that's a very Western way of looking at it, right? If we go traditional Chinese, we're talking about Jing. We're talking about results of stressors of any kind. We talk about things that we're coded with because of our mom and the first breath we took, or our DNA helix, double helix, just depending on your thought process. So when you go to choose to add a boxer as a family member to your home, what would you tell people, Tara? What have you guys learned about now having quite a few of these guys?
Well, to be more aware of that, the nature of having the, I'm going to use susceptibility again because I forgot the word you used, but that within their makeup, that is, they are very prone to get cancer.
Now, how would you, if you were going to, how would you tell people if they're thinking about going out and get a boxer cross, or something along that line? Where would you suggest people start to look for information about any breed that they might choose to look for these things to expect down the road? What would you think?
Well, talk to a holistic vet for one thing.
Not exactly where I was going with that, but yay, very nice, very nice.
Nice.
And a lot of it, I mean, you could even ask your Western vet if you have a Western vet, because a lot of vets, they treat dogs and they see certain things in certain breeds. So other than that, I don't know, because we had no idea what the dogs were, you know, prone to or not.
Actually, I was reading something on Facebook this morning, and it talked about 7 breeds that are high with cancer, and boxers, of course, one of them.
Yeah, so there are some really great books out there, and I'm not affiliated with any of them. There's just one I use called The Genetic Connection, and it is literally a book about predisposition, and in a very Western way, about whether it's recessive or dominant or those types of, about many, many different medical conditions that different breeds of dogs have.
Yeah.
So there are scientific retrospective study texts for people to look at to find these things out. Now, as you guys know, I'm not a super duper fan of internet information, which makes me a super hypocrite, because now I'm involved with the internet, aren't I? So I just beg people to be very careful and make sure that their sourcing is 100% credentialed, and it's not all just theoretical, you know, because you don't want to scare anybody, but you just want to be prepared, right? So was it a surprise to you guys to find out that you guys just really dig boxers, right? You just love boxers, and all of a sudden, along with that, I love boxers came with, like, oh, I didn't know. I mean, like, you're telling me that you just didn't know, right?
Yeah, we had no idea. And then Mickey had the hygienea-sarcoma, and then both Mickey and Princess had mast cell tumors. Which is another cancer. So obviously staying away from the sugar for Princess is a must, you know. So for grains, instead of using like a sweet potato, we're using a quinoa, which is a lot of protein, and we also sometimes use some brown rice, which is better than something as sweet as a sweet potato. So, but most of it's a quinoa.
Okay. Now, we're going to back up just one second here for you. When we talk about, you know, we mentioned hemangiosarcoma, and we had a whole episode on that, and then our mast cell tumors, right? We talked about hemangiosarcomas being a tumor of the blood vessels, a tumor that would be liver, heart, spleen, maybe on the skin. Would you mind telling the world how you guys know that your dogs had mast cell tumors, what they looked like, why you cared, what came, because you guys didn't know. You guys didn't know to wait for it or look for it. So how did you know something else was going on with your darlings?
Well, with Mickey, we just saw him, he was drinking water, and I'm like, it just looked like a little bump, like the size of a thumb, you know, a thumbprint, and it was just on the side. I was like, what's that? That wasn't there before, that's never been there, and all of a sudden it's there, you know. And so I was, of course, after being diagnosed with lung cancer, a little bit cautious. So I took him in, and it turns out that was looks like it had been a mast cell tumor. So we scheduled that to be removed. And in the meantime, I dragged Princess and Coda, and I said, okay, show me all your lumps and bumps, and got all of those tested. And a lot of times the testing is, we did it with the Western vet, but it was very easy. They just aspirate it and then look at the cells under a microscope, and if there's anything abnormal or cancer-looking like, then you can get further testing if you want, or you can just go for the removal and then get it tested after. So she had a mast cell tumor on her hind, and it was the size of a pea. It wasn't very large. It had been there for at least 6 months, but I didn't think anything of it because she gets skin tags. So, but I would definitely encourage people, if they see lumps, bumps, something abnormal, go ask about it, because you never know what's there. And my understanding is there's 4 grades of those mast cell tumors, and luckily ours was only a grade 1, which I think is the lowest and the safest for an animal to have. But my understanding is grade 4 could be a very serious condition. Indeed. And it might look the same.
Indeed, indeed. So this is so important what you guys just did here. I mean, we're talking about crockpot cooking, and you guys are motivated by some pretty serious issues. Then you guys happen to get involved with some pretty awesome dogs that give you challenges with cancers and skin stuff. And then you guys did what everyone else does, right? It said, oh, it's just a lump or a bump, or it's just a skin tag, or it's just that, and that's fine. I mean, it really is fine, but to be attentive to it, but then also know what your breed might have, and that they have more of a susceptibility or genetic predisposition for these things. Going and getting what Maggie just talked about, which was a aspirate for the skin, is really quite simple, as she described. So it really is, we pinch the mass, or we take the mass and we use a needle. We just get some cells out of it. We blow those cells onto a slide and then look at the slide under a microscope, and if there's any question about what you see, you send those slides to a board-certified veterinary pathologist who looks at it, and all they do with their life is spend their life looking at slides and what's abnormal, what are the 12 criteria for cancer-looking cells, what is this, what is that, what's this. So you can get really, really great diagnostics really quite fast, and it can save their life. Okay, so that's my Western hit there. But as you guys can attest to, right, this was super important. Yes, that she only had a grade 1, and if you let these things go, much like breast cancer in women and other kinds of cancer, you want to pay attention, have some respect for it, right? So there's my plug for cancer, because once you have a dragon like that in you, it's very, very, once the cells stop obeying their borders and stop obeying their genetics, and they just have a free-for-all in your body or uncontrolled cell growth, it's hard to get in front of that speeding train, isn't it? So what you guys are saying here today is so damn important, okay? So what Tara said about sugar and carbohydrates, converting to sugar, cancer loves carbohydrates. Cancer loves sugar. Cancer feeds off of sugar, yeah? So when we do low carbohydrates, increased protein diets, here comes the, I'm not going to be on kibble diets anymore, and I might have to figure out about home cooking, and home cooking can be made easier maybe with crock potting, right? So this is where you guys come in. Talk about how you guys started, or what you did, because it's an experimental at-home process, isn't it?
Oh, it was a trial and error of timing, of quantity, of all this stuff. So I think we've got it down to a science, as you can see, like crockpot, quinoa. So I mean, we've got it down, the timing down now, but it's really just a matter of getting the timing down and getting the proportions that you want for your pet. So what we are doing with the dogs is we're feeding about 50% protein, maybe 40 to 50% protein. We're feeding about 30 to 40% vegetables, maybe 10% fruit, and then 10% grain. It's about something like that. I think of it in my head as cup. A little bit of this, a little bit of that type of thing. So the vegetables are fun. Today we're doing broccoli, mushrooms, yellow pepper, orange pepper, beets, and cabbage. So a lot of different colors of the rainbow. We also sometimes use like a yellow squash or a cauliflower. Oh, celery's in there too. So a lot of really good healthy ones. Broccoli helps to fight, I think, cancer. It's one of those foods that's really, really good. I know celery and things like parsley really good for the kidneys. I mean, I won't go on and on what the vegetables are good for, but they're all good. And they all help nutritionally, not only for us, but for, obviously, our pets. And then in this crock pot, we have basically just a hunk of beef, and one of our dogs is on cooked meat, so she's going to have this cooked until it's done. And she loves it. And the other one's eating raw, so he gets little steaks every meal. So he's spoiled. And then in this crock pot, we have beans, because instead of doing all our meat with a meat, or all our protein with a meat. We're doing also beans to supplement because it's more cost effective, and it adds something else to their diet. So.
And then also the beans are a protein, but they also add fiber. So that's so very important, fiber. Now, you just said like 3 controversial things in one sentence. It's fantastic. So you did. I'm like, yay. So so here we go. You guys know that I have my views on things, and I need for you to tell the world what is your definition of raw, and what is it that you do with the food that you feed your big guy, and why do you do it? I guess I want to hear those things.
Okay, well, really when I reference raw, I'm just referencing the meat, because he won't eat raw vegetables very much. I still have to cook his vegetables a little bit, and his grains obviously need to be cooked, yeah. And the beans obviously need to be cooked. So he's eating some cooked, but his meat that he's getting is raw. So what I do is that we get this huge, big piece of meat, and we cut it into serving size things. And what we found works the best is to do individual serving size in little Ziploc bags, throw it in the freezer, so he can have, 22 servings in the freezer, and then each night just take out 2 for the, not the next day, but the following day, because it takes like a day to thaw out. And we basically are giving him, I haven't measured the weight of it, but it's probably a good 6-ounce steak.
But we're got to remember, we are talking about a very large, well, he's not very large in my book, but he's big, and he is athletic. Oh, here he comes. Let's see if we can see him.
He's very athletic, very active.
He is very athletic. He's ridiculously athletic. I love him.
Come here.
I'm going to be famous. I need to be famous. But some folks find raw kind of controversial, and I don't at all. I believe that. Oh, here we go. I believe that this is the way they're meant to eat, unless they have medical problems or situations that don't allow them to. Now look at these 2 dogs. Aren't they phenomenal? Absolutely wonderful. Now who are these 2 sweethearts? Tell the world.
This one right here is Princess. She is our boxer, and she's older. She's 9 years old, and she has had that mast cell tumor, so she's prone to cancer. This is Coda. He is a boxer pit bull mix, and he's very athletic, very muscular, and right now they're getting their afternoon treat of eggs with the shells in it for the calcium. And as you can see, they're spoiled.
So tell us more about the eggs. What's important about your eggs?
The egg is a source of protein, and it has a lot of nutrients. The egg itself has it's almost considered like a full nutritional supplement, I guess.
What did the chickens eat before they laid their eggs?
I don't know.
Are they organic? Are your eggs organic?
Oh yeah, our eggs are organic. We actually feed dogs organic meat when we can. If not, we do a meat that's hormone-free, without preservatives and antibiotics.
Good. Good.
Their vegetables are organic. They're actually spoiled.
The thing is, they're just eating as well as we should eat, but it doesn't work that way most of the time. So,
right.
So they get their organic eggies with their calcium shells ground up enough to where they don't choke on them or anything like that. And it's just the most natural way, the most pure. I don't actually know what natural even means, but an unadulterated way to get all of this wonderful nutrition. I love that, and that's just their snack. So, look at them. Yeah, look how beautiful these dogs are. They're wonderful. Now. If you don't mind sharing, what improvements did you see in your dogs, these 2 sweethearts, when you started doing crock potting?
Well, the most marked difference was with Princess. She, here we go. Okay. She, she's got a little bit of arthritis. She's a little bit slow, hard to get up in the hind legs. So, she sleeps all day and everything. But what we noticed when we started crock potting our food for her and giving her this amazing diet, it was like she lost 3 or 4 years of her life. She was jumping and skipping and playing, and
she was on springs.
Yeah. And we haven't. I don't know. I mean, it was amazing. Like she was playing with her toys with like zest and vigor again, and like
joy,
boxing again, and yeah, she's just really, I mean, amazing.
What other changes besides the food did you guys make? I know that we did a little bit of acupuncture on her, but very minimal compared. I mean, but any other supplementation, any other medication, any techniques, anything like that that might account for some of this wonderfulness?
Yeah, we put her on Duralactin, which is a joint plus supplement. Okay, we put her on that. We also put her on some vitamin C, which is a cancer-fighting agent. This one's called BioC. And then we have them on a probiotic to help the transition of the food and the digestion of the food. Okay. It's been really important to like slowly change them over to this so that they never got sick, they never had the runs, they never puked, and the probiotic really helps with that transition and helps just the digestion. And then we have Princess on a CAS option.
Oh, wait. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Okay. So we can move those. We're kind of blocking a little bit of the crock potting. But so she went on some things to help her digestion and her joints and some other things. But the big change for her was her food. Yes?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we noticed a difference with just changing the food right away.
Okay, so you guys have your hunk of beef, right? You got a big old thing of beef, and then you have your veggies that are organic, and then you've got your quinoa in a different pot. And your beans. How do you guys prepare these things? Like literally, like if you were a chef tell, and you need to start from the beginning with somebody like myself who doesn't cook, what are you going to tell people to do?
Okay, well, it depends on the type of bean you have. Most beans have to soak for 8 hours before you can cook them. So we rotate between lentils and kidney beans. So with the kidney beans, they'll soak for 8 hours, and then you put them in the crock pot. You cover them with water, maybe a couple inches extra of water. You put them on low, and you cook them for 6 to 8 hours until they're mushy, till you would want to eat them. The lentils you don't have to soak, which makes it nice if you like, oh no, they need beans today. It's a quicker, easier way because they don't have soaking time. But they just go into the crock pot, and then you cover them with about like 1 pound of lentils for about 6 cups of water.
Oh, okay.
And then just throw them on low for about 6 hours, and then they're done. And what we've also done for the beans, and we just add it to all of our bean cooking, is adding green tea.
Yay, green tea. We love green tea, don't we?
Yeah, because that's just a great supplement for their diet and stuff. So they get green tea in their beans when they cook, so we don't have to remember to try to give that to them or try to fit it in somewhere. So they just go in with the beans.
So the green tea is a wonderful thing that we can give to these guys for the same reason that we drink it, right? So I think that people drink green tea because somebody told them it's antioxidant, it can help them lose weight, it's bacterial, some people think that it's anti-parasitic, but we know for sure that green tea contains ECGC, which is this very, very long word, okay, that has anti-cancer effects right now. So before you even know anything's going on, and hopefully you'll never find out, green tea is actually in you working to make sure that the dysfunction, the misfiring of certain cells and all the wonderful things that they do to our body that we don't like can't happen or will slow down. It's not a miracle. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if we can do one thing or two things to slow down or stop a process that might lead to something horrible, and it can't hurt them at the proper doses, of course, as dictated by your doctor and your veterinarian, but it's such a wonderful thing that you'll see it in many supplements or see it sometimes in really cool kibble diets and such. But if we can add it ourselves to our crock potting with minimal processing and get it in them to do great work along with your wonderful organic eggs, I'm just such a big fan. So do you guys have any problem doing that with them, or did they turn their nose up at you or anything crazy?
Not at all. They love all their food. We also give them We give them about at least 2 sardines each a day for
Yay!
oils.
We love
And
sardines.
yeah, I don't like them at all. They love them. Um, so they get that just for, just for the fish oils, for the omegas, and it makes their coats incredibly shiny. And they love them.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing we do is we use coconut oil when we cook eggs. That seems to be the oil that they like the flavor, but it's really easy for them as well.
Now, there's some controversy, especially on the internet and such, with coconut oil. It's a saturated fat, which means that at room temperature it's solid, right? Which automatically gets some people to think that, oh, no, we can't do that. I don't agree at all. So the coconut oil has so many health benefits to it with regard to inside, outside, topically. For us, for our brain function, some of the aluminum chelating and such, but the idea that it can be anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antioxidant, and it provides an awesome medium by which to either scramble your organic eggs if you choose to do such, or to cook something, even if you sear your raw piece of flesh before you give it to your dog, whatever it is. But on your choices for an oil, I honestly think coconut oil is fantastic and of course, you bipeds and your dogs, of course. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
And your sardines, you're doing some heavy lifting there because it's a full creature. You've got your omega-3s and 6s, right? And that when you look at the back of your, sometimes your glucosamine chondroitin supplements with your omegas, you'll see it's sardines and anchovies. But traditional Chinese medicine, the sardine drains dampness out of your body. It drains some of that biochemical sludgy dampness, which we know that dampness can cause loose stool. We know that it's a precursor to some of the badness that happens with these guys, and we just don't need dampness in our body, and they certainly don't either. So if we can give them something they love, like the sardine, and it's doing actual work in their body, even though you don't like it, their sardines are in water, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
And for their treats, well, we usually can give them cooked eggs. We haven't tried giving raw eggs to Cody yet, but that's probably something we'll try later. But we give them frozen berries. We buy organic frozen berries, and so that's how they're getting a lot of their other antioxidants in their berries. And they just think it's great because we sit around and we have a little party and we all get a berry and a berry and a berry. So
she calls it a berry party.
And how often are these berry partings happening? Is it a nightly berry party, or what kind of berries are involved in this? Is it only seasonal, or is it whatever?
We just buy them frozen, and it's a big bag, and it's blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries. And so it's a nice mixture of the different berries, and we usually do it at least 5 times a week. I would say I try to do it every night, but sometimes we miss.
Oh, well, So,
yeah.
You guys in your life, you started out with a very nice organic kibble diet, and that they were free feeding, and that was nice, and you just put their kibble down and they would eat whatever the heck they wanted to eat. And now you've gone to this high maintenance, cook for your dog, buy this kind of stuff, shop for this, buy slabs of flesh, all this wonderful stuff, in my opinion. When somebody says too time consuming, too expensive, doesn't make a difference, and whatever other arguments that people might use when they watch this, going, these people are nuts, right? What do you tell them with regard to the comparisons of money, time, results, and aggravation?
Okay, well, there's no aggravation if your dog just lost 3 or 4 years off its life and it can run and jump and skip and play. That's worth anything, right? Okay, so the aggravation, it's really not aggravating at all because your dog's going to feel better. They're going to live healthier, more active. They just feel great, and just knowing it's a marked difference, In terms of time, I hope you chop really fast your vegetables. If you can chop fast, it's not too bad.
She's good at that.
I was able to throw all this together this morning in a half hour.
Oh.
So it wasn't bad. But I chop really fast because it's just the vegetables that are the most time consuming to cut. Now you could actually overcook them in a crock pot and still maintain all the nutrition within them and just mush them up. didn't want to chop them fine, but I don't like mushy vegetables. I don't think my dogs would either. And then money, that is the hardest thing. I mean, you have to be able to afford it. Talking to other people who cook for their dogs, a lot of times they don't do like the organic meat or the more expensive meats because that's where it gets more expensive. But that's where you can supplement. You can add more eggs instead of beef. You can add, the sardines as a protein. Your beans are proteins. So beans are cheap. The vegetables, really, it's not that much. The quinoa or the grain, it's really not that expensive. It's just the meat. So again, you have people. I just tell people if you can afford it, it's great. If you can make it work within your budget, anything is probably better than the dog food.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about things like even if we can crock pot for them, how many? Let's start with this. How many days does your crock pot work last? Is it a 5-day crock pot adventure, or if you put them in bags and throw them in the freezer, and let's say I wanted a crock pot for my dog every other day or every other meal or something like that to kind of split the cost just so you get some wonderful goodness into them, is that a doable thing? Can you bag and freeze what you do and use it later?
Absolutely. This right here is about 5 days of dog food, minus Coda's meat, which he feeds different. So it's about 5 days. You could stick it in the fridge and just take it as needed. But you can freeze any of this and use it. What I do is I freeze all the broth after cooking the meat. I cover it in water to cook it, but then I freeze the broth and I cook my vegetables in beef broth because it tastes better for them. So
you're not wasting any nutrient value whatsoever. You're getting
absolutely not.
Okay, great.
We're trying to include all the nutrient value that anything that's in the crock pot should be somehow get into your dog. So you can use the liquid from the beef to cook with your beans or your vegetables.
That's cool stuff. Now, what else have you guys done that's maybe a little bit different? Do you guys other kinds of? I think you're doing like raw marrow bones. Is that right? So they can
absolutely
value from that. And then, what other kinds of stuff do they get? Their treats are all their berry time, or what else are they getting for treats? Like I want to gnaw on something, mommy, or it's not like they're not spoiled enough, right? But there's more. There's more.
Well, and the gnawing thing, we have been giving them the bone marrows and they can gnaw on those. I mean, Coda was gnawing on one this morning. He got a couple days ago. So usually, like 2 to 3 times a week, they'll get a fresh one, but they keep gnawing on them throughout the week. So.
Well, and then so these guys, you went from a kibble diet that was actually marketed as very nutritious, and based on some life event, you guys decided to change everything for all your dogs, which is awesome. And so your dogs get crock potting, and they get beans, and their carbohydrates are a quinoa, which we love quinoa because of the amino acids and those types of portions of them. You do green tea, you do lots of veg, which are colors of the rainbow. Right? Those are the colors of the rainbow are actually phytonutrients. Different phytonutrients do different wonderful things in our body. So the variety of those is just fantastic. And then you do your vegetable, you do fruit night, you do your berry night, and then they eat raw marrow bones, and they love to chew on those, and those are good for their dental health, but also the marrow is very nutritious and delicious. And you guys have done probiotics to make sure that their body was ready for such a dramatic change, and you guys did it slowly. Is that about it? Did I get it in a bucket there?
I think that's about it. Yeah.
All right, cool beans. Now, were there things when you started out, when you saw the list of foods that were, safe for the dog? I mean, because a lot of people think that it's kibble, and you can't feed people food, and you can't do this, and there's so many you can't do this, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I was a Western vet for a very long time, and I was trained that exact same way. And like I tell people, I've gone over the dark side, and I've changed everything. But the food list of restrictions is very small, yes, and that the food list of stuff that is safe for these guys to eat, it's just food, isn't it? What did you guys think when you saw that list, and you're like, they can eat that, or I can do that? What did you guys think? Because I can speak for myself all day long.
For me, it was like, it's not that you don't think your dog can eat it, but why would they want to? Like, why would my dog want to eat these vegetables? Like, my dog doesn't like vegetables, you know? So a lot of it was like, well, how do you get a dog to like vegetables? You know, like, how do you get them to eat it? So my concern wasn't necessarily like, I didn't know they could eat all this, but why would they want to eat all this? Or how would you want them to eat all this so they have nutritional value?
Well, we didn't think about cooking for them either, because they didn't like when something raw fell. They didn't like that. Didn't think about cooking.
So did they surprise you, or were there things that they decided they wanted to eat that you're like, oh my gosh, look at that? Or how did the whole thing go over? Did they? I always think about children. You know, if you put something in front of them and you have an icky face, like, ew, here you go, eat your beets. Then they get your energy and they get your, why would I eat that if it makes my mom look like that? You know, I don't know. That's anthropomorphizing. I get it, but it's that way. And if we have this, they're never going to eat this, they're never going to eat this mentality. Really, they're never going to eat it, right? So, or you put it in front of them, and the first time they walk away from it, try again. So how did that transition take place for your household? So folks that are watching, don't give up, right?
Don't give up. My dogs actually never walked away from anything. Okay, they're like, oh, it's got, you know, I think because we did add beef to it, and we mix it all together. It's not like they get a little bit of this, and then they get we just mix it all together like a stew. So their quinoa and their veggies that are cooked in beef broth and their beef, you know, and everything, and their beans they're all mixed together, and it's awesome. Like, they never turned up their noses at it at all. In fact, Coda licks his bowl and waits for Princess to finish, and then goes to like her bowl. He could eat it all day.
So I'm extremely biased, as everyone knows, because I do this for a living, and I believe in everything that you guys are saying, and I do it myself. Actually, my dogs are a little bit more edgy than that, because I do some even crazier stuff than I tell clients to do. But if you, with regard to people's concerns, right? People are concerned about bacteria. They're concerned about storage. They're concerned about cleanliness. They're concerned about vomiting, diarrhea. We're concerned about quick transitions. And if you were to meet somebody, not me, but saying, oh, I could never cook for my dog, they wouldn't tolerate it. Or they're literally concerned, and they're concerned for their pets. What would you say, as people that have actually lived it and done it, and through some of the most amazing health circumstance? I mean, you haven't had horrible GI, but you guys have been through cancer with 2 dogs, and then you got this monster healthy dog who's like the antichrist of your other dogs. You know, this monster, wonderful, perfect, athletic creature. And then you guys also tended to an end-stage cancer doggy, and you guys did it great. So how would you advise people that aren't veterinarians and don't do this for a living about your experience, your journey with this whole thing?
You know, I think there are these like little, it's like a mountain you have to climb, okay? It's not all easy right away if you're not used to it. It's like anything in life when you're learning a new recipe to cook. It's like, you're not comfortable with the recipe, you have to keep looking at a sheet of paper to make sure you get all the ingredients right. I mean, that's what we've done. We have to post something on a refrigerator of how much to give each dog and in which meal, you know. So it's just be patient with the process and find a system that works for you. You know, give yourself extra time in the beginning, you know, to see how long it's going to cook the food. Give yourself extra time to transition the dog slowly so you're not dealing with vomiting or diarrhea. The slower you go in that transitional phase from kibble or whatever you're feeding them now to something else, just be slow about it. There's no rush. You know, it's going to be gentler and easier on the dog and you to take it slow. So be patient with yourself. Patience is huge. Give yourself extra time in the beginning until you know what all is entailed. Take down notes, write down recipes if you have to, post them on the fridge. Those are definitely my advice.
What now, for me, since I'm a non-cooker, what about cleanup time? What about the mess that you guys make? What about that whole, oh, I'm not doing that again because I don't want to do all these dishes later. What's the reality of that whole cleanup thing? Now, I also have chickens, right? And I also have my dogs. So whenever there's leftover scraps, I either go to the chicken yard or to the dog bowl, you know. And so what are you guys doing? Is cleanup something you think should really keep somebody from trying this?
You're looking at 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Scrub, 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 you're done, you know. Of course, you know, I love to make a mess when I'm cooking. It's my favorite thing. So whoever's cleaning up after me
It's usually me.
is going to roll their eyes, but no, I'm just kidding.
No.
No, it's cleanup is just part of you know, it's actually energetically it's a great thing because it's just showing that we care. You know, it's like petting your dog or grooming your dog. I care about you. It's no different than that. It takes 5 minutes to wash the dishes entailed. And in terms of like storage and bacteria, I would say cook for 5 days. If you think it's going to last more, throw it in the freezer if you're not sure.
Mm-hmm.
If really just get some good Tupperware that, I mean, it's not going to go bad. Dogs' digestive systems are a little bit hardier than ours, so you should be fine.
Now you guys have a pretty firm handle on where I stand on all this, but if I was to say that the cost of doing this is offset by the cost of medical care or dysfunction or disease, or like you're saying with the arthritis, you change food and you cut 3-4 years off your dog's discomfort or her energy level and those types of things, how would you address the concerns up front versus what you're hoping to see or not see down the road as these guys age, just as we do? Like coming from your heart and folks that actually do it and have experienced some great stuff and some not so great stuff, where would you stand on that?
I would say I like the approach of preventative, you know. I want to be as healthy as I can be. I want my dogs to be as healthy as they can be. Now, if someone offers my dogs a treat, I'm going to let them give them a treat. Like, and I'm going to have my cup of coffee. You know, we're all going to make these little exceptions, you know. But I, you know, being preventative, it's like doing whatever you can, you know, because I know I feel better when I eat well. So my dogs are going to feel better when they eat well. So be your own testimony. I mean, you try eating McDonald's every day and then go eating health food every day for a month at a time and see how you feel. People are going to feel better if they're eating healthy. Your dogs are going to feel better. And you're going to prevent all the nasty things that you can through nutrition. It's not an end-all, cure-all for everything. It's just one of the steps that we can take to live a healthy lifestyle.
It's called being proactive.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of my biggest, I guess, taglines, if you'd say, is that our non-human friends have no choice and no voice about what happens to them and what they get fed, and that our experience and our education dictate our world into which we make choices, and that our pool of resources about making decisions for these guys. So how do you guys feel about your power to be better advocates for your animal friends and people that ask you questions? Because that's what this is about, right? Animal advocacy. This is about doing the best your education experience for these guys. So now you guys are advocates for not only your pets, but you're talking to the world right now. How do you feel about being a better advocate?
I think most people that are pet lovers are going to treat them like they're children. And you could just say, would you want your child to drink a soda every day and have fast food every day and candy bars every day, or eat things that are thrown on the floor?
Exactly.
Okay, so most people who have pets and love their pets are going to treat them like children, which means if we can provide good nutrition as they grow through all their days, it's going to be better. And so I always compare it to being a child.
And part of it's the education of the owners.
Yes.
We thought we were doing well with the kibble, and we learned differently.
Yeah. So how, just like with your questions with, I didn't know that my boxer was prone to having certain kind of cancers or conditions, let's say. How would you advise dog or pet owners such as yourself that aren't taught this at a high expense in veterinary medical school all the time, and then we weren't even taught nutrition there, that was self-taught type stuff, but if you have a friend or a neighbor, somebody you meet at the park, how would you advise them to seek out reliable information for the betterment and the advocacy of their dog? Where would you tell them to go? What would you tell them to do in a soft, kind, positive, supportive way? Of course, remember, of course.
You know, again, we don't want to like impose our views on people, just expose them. But if people were curious, I would say talk to someone who actually knows, because that's what we had to do. We didn't Google it. We didn't try to figure everything out on our own. We asked a professional with nutritional expertise for animals, on it, just to get that information, and it's been extremely valuable and worth everything. It's like, I know a lot of people like to look online and like to do all their own research, but just ask someone who knows. It's so much easier. So that's what I would recommend.
Oh my, you guys, it's like it's coming out of my own mouth watching you two. I'm so proud of you. I can't stand it. So happy. So Tara, tell the world. I know you haven't opened your mouth very much this last hour. I know you have serious, strong feelings about this, and you love your family, you love these guys, and you're so involved in making these decisions and the cooking and you just love them. I know you feel them in every pore of your body. So tell the world, how has this changed your relationship with your human-animal bond, your animal advocacy, the things you tell people? I know you do. How has it changed things for you?
It's been pretty amazing, and our female boxer, Princess, is just such a testament as to the turnaround with her for her joy of being a dog.
Yeah,
being able to jump around and keep up with the little guy.
Now, tell me now, the joy thing is something that every single one of my darn patients and clients get, right? They get the joy lecture, right? So as weird as you may have thought that was when you met me, or as I keep drilling it in, how important is that to you guys in your relationship with your whole family, especially your human-animal bond, using joy as a parameter for their quality of life? And I know it may seem silly, but how many days do we go through and we don't really think about, are we experiencing joy today? Are we having the freedom of just joy? And that how much does that change our life experience with these guys when we actually spend some time seeking out joy with these guys? And I know it seems maybe existential or weird, but it's important. It's important to me. So what do you guys think about that?
Oh, I feel closer to these two than I ever felt before.
Good.
I felt being proactive in their behalf has been great.
Good. What do you think, Maggie?
I think anytime that my dogs are happy, I'm going to be happy. Anytime that I'm happy, they're going to be happy. So it kind of is. It's a win-win. It's a win-win. Yeah.
Good for you guys. You could not have exceeded my expectations about this presentation more so than you have. I mean, it's so much wonderful information in so many venues. So thank you guys so much for your time. And I think that we have to put together some sort of YouTube crockpotting instructional show, because what you guys are doing is so valuable, and you actually know how to do it, right? You do it every single day. So. All right. Thank you, ladies, so much, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again soon, and we'll figure out another topic in which for you guys to host this thing. I love it. Thank you so much, and do me a favor and kiss those guys for me, okay?
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.